Big D did the unthinkable earlier this month at Get On My Level 2022. Dating back to the first PGRU tournament, which was Genesis 6 back in February 2019, nobody had ever piloted the Ice Climbers beyond 17th place at an S or A tier event. That peak was reached by Big D himself at Main Stage 2019, where he beat Zachray, and also lost to Cyro's Roy and Righto's Duck Hunt, perfectly illustrating the volatile nature of Smash's iconic wintry duo. For nearly 3 years, they lay dormant, languishing at the bottom of tier lists and results graphics alike. That is, until Big D's Incredible Losers run this past Sunday at Get On My Level. Today, we'll take you through the competitive history of ice climbers and the history of the large Canadian who nearly took them to the top. Since that day at Main Stage, September 20th, 2019, there have been few strong ice climbers results. Most have come from Japan. Harasen finished 49th out of nearly 2,000 players at EVO Japan 2020, one of the final pre-lockdown S tiers. Both Daiki and Murasat were eliminated just one round prior at 65th. Stateside, player unknown, no, not the PUBG guy, the brother of the Michigan Smash legends and Noto, finished 49th at Frostbite 2020. North America's final pre-lockdown S tier with a mix of ice climbers and Mewtwo, but he hasn't appeared at a post-lockdown major. Until last weekend, Big D's 17th at Main Stage remained the best major ice climbers result of all time, and few others had ever broken top 32. A quick note here, the definition of major is often unclear, and it can be especially hard to define when you look across different titles. For the sake of this video, we'll use PGRU S and A tier tournaments as our definition for super majors and majors respectively in Ultimate, and we'll follow Liquipedia's tier list for the other games. Now, back to it. A second place result for ice climbers isn't just historic in the context of Ultimate. It's historic for Smash in general. According to Liquipedia's historical record of Smash majors, a top 2 finish for ice climbers at a major has happened just 13 times in Smash history. Remove secondary runs, sorry ESAM, and that number drops to 11. Limit it to solo runs like Big D's at Get On My Level 2022 and you're left with just 8. Half of which occurred in the mid-2000s at the hands of Chudat. Because we, as random internet users, are occasionally blessed by Apollo, we went on a deep dive into the history of the ice climbers in competitive Melee just prior to Big D's huge Get On My Level run. You can check that out in the description if you want to know more. But the last time an Ice Climbers player made Grand Finals at a Super Major of any Smash title was EVO 2013, when Wobbling's namesake, Wobbles, took second to Mango at what was the biggest Melee tournament ever. Expand the scope to majors and you have just 4 entries. Fly Amanita's run at Press Start in 2015, and 3 Super Smash Cons where all the Brawlheads really get their chance to shine. Unfortunately, thanks to Nana's murder at the hands of the cowardly 3DS, which lacked the power necessary to handle both climbers at once, Ice Climbers weren't an option for Smash 4. Big D's entry into competitive Smash was with Ice Climbers, and his first major result was a 65th place finish in Melee at the first edition of Genesis, all the way back in 2009. 13 years later, he made history with the very same character, but in a much different game, and his path here was a winding one indeed. In Brawl, Ice Climbers might not have been the most common character, but it was one you had to be prepared for. Wobbling was gone, but Ice Climbers had plenty of tech to make every opening sting. Desyncs could still lead to incredibly powerful combos and pressure, and grabs were still devastating. The handoffs just took a little bit more finesse. But Big D didn't play Ice Climbers in Brawl. He played King Dedede, and he was considered one of the best in the world. As he said to Coney in our post-tourney interview, he doesn't grind Smash tournaments for a living, but his results at the few majors he attended were stellar. Even in Smash 4, with a nerfed Dedede and no climbers to speak of, Big D was a force, constantly one of the top players in the Pacific Northwest, both with his low-tier Dedede and the Captain Falcon and Mario he would eventually add to his squad. With Ultimate's Ice Climbers, Big D had once again co-signed himself to a low-tier lifestyle, at least according to the character's results across the game's lifespan. PGstats contributor Matthew Easy Freezy Aliota has measured character placement percentages at major tournaments for 4 offline seasons thus far: the PGRU V1 and V2 seasons in 2019, the post-lockdown period from June 2021 through Let's Make Big Moves in January 2022, and the PGRU V3 from March 2022 through Battle of BC4 in June. In None of these 4 periods were the climbers able to attain even a 1% share of results, ranging from 0.68% in the PGRU V1 campaign to 0.82% in the PGRU V3 season. And that, no shock, was largely thanks to Big D's work. The theory behind the Ice Climbers as a character that can make waves at top level play isn't too tough to understand. When they touch you, you explode. With desyncs, the tree of combo possibilities has just about as many branches as you can imagine. Pressure and kill setups Big D displayed with Blizzards, the Icy's down special, alone were enough to illustrate the character's offensive power. That was never the problem, though. The problem was consistency, and one big source of the inconsistency comes from something out of the player's control: Nana's AI. One of the biggest parts of playing Ice Climbers is managing Nana and trying to avoid, as hard as possible, the places where the AI essentially checkmates itself, often through poor air dodge attempts to return to stage. Even with Big D's incredible Nana management, there were still awkward interactions on the ledge where, one way or another, one or both climbers would wind up in the wrong spot and Big D would simply plummet to his demise. Other times, simply introducing the chaos of an active hitbox on ledge is enough disruption, as we saw here in this set against Syrup.
Thing you could go for, at least it'll get them apart, you know?
Well, and ultimately that's what you're looking for, and well, that time, Nana,
okay.
yeah.
And when it comes to brackets where you're playing 10 plus sets and as many 40 or 50 games in a tournament, that kind of inconsistency will inevitably come back to bite you. Not Big D, he won 11 sets on his way to second place at Get On My Level, including 5 straight sets in Loser's Bracket. 4 of those, starting with his top 8 opener against Aaron, were streamed. In these 4 set wins, there were no easy stocks for his opponent. Let's take a look at the data. Big D's opponents were only able to separate his Nana and kill her early 9 times. Just 4 times did this occur before Popo's damage counter hit 80%, and just 4 times did this happen in the first minute of a stock. The only time Big D lost his Nana prior to 40 seconds into the stock was the one time Syrup managed to complete an edge guard, and even there, Big D had an opportunity to tech and keep things going. Avoiding time on Sopo was the key to Big D's success, but Popo was able to do work on a few occasions when he was forced to spend time on his own. Big D found 3 KOs on Sopo, including this counter KO after Syrup made the incorrect choice to KO Nana with a back throw. He also dealt at least 50 damage 3 times, including a grueling 45-second slog where he piled over 100 damage onto Cosmos' Aegis. With Nana, the Ice Climbers become a pressure machine. Every hit on shield becomes terrifying, especially in the corner, where there's only one escape route available. Nana also is the key to the Ice Climbers' ability to disrupt. Very few characters have the ability that the paired-up Icies have to punish opponents for succeeding at the very purpose of the game: getting a hit. The Ice Climbers aren't the only ones with this superpower, but most characters who can punish an opponent for hitting them can only do so after some setup. Think Snake, Duck Hunt, and Bowser Jr. with their explosives, or Rosalina with a desynced Luma. With Icies, all it takes is one misspaced multi-hit or one poorly timed grab, and all of a sudden you're staring down the other climber's hammer. Once again, let's go to the data. Across his 4 streamed set wins in Loser's Bracket, in which he went 12-2 in 14 games, Big D dealt 756% worth of damage on 44 separate interactions in which he directly punished the opponent for hitting one of the Ice Climbers. He also found 7 KOs off these interactions. That's good for an average of 54% of damage and half a KO per game for getting hit. Let's take a look at some of the most vicious examples. First, Big D quickly showed why it's not a good idea to try and beat the Ice Climbers with an unfamiliar matchup. If you don't have a good sense of when you're going to hit one Ice Climber instead of both, you'll pay dearly. This happened to Aaron in Game 4, his last-ditch attempt to bring back the set with Aegis. After falling behind on his first stock, Aaron attempted to extend an opening with dash attack. When it hit Nana and not Popo, that was it. The Popo back air put him off stage, and the down tilt easily swiped him away to end the stock. Syrup, the youngest of Big D's opponents and likely the least familiar with the Ice Climbers, struggled the most with this concept, taking 229% worth of damage and dropping 3 stocks to these kinds of punishes in their 3-0 set. 2 of the 3 came off of grabs, arguably the most important thing to be aware of when you start your game plan against Ice Climbers. Does your character have a collateral hitbox to make throws safe? Ness has down throw, but neither of his side throws have anything to dissuade an angry ice climber, and Syrup dropped 2 of his stocks as a result. Cosmos suffered the most deadly punish of all, one that started at just 75%. He attempted to use Mithra's huge sweeping back air to cover a return to stage, but only hit Popo. Big D already had Nana's Blizzard on deck and was able to pounce, taking out Cosmos' Mithra at just 90%. Considering Cosmos' mash was on point all set, it's entirely possible he got caught with poor DI while trying to mash out of the freeze here. This early KO put Big D up 2-0 in the set, a summit far too high for Cosmos to climb. Syrup, Cosmos, and Aaron all struggled to find grabs at the right time, combining to get punished 7 times for successful grabs on one of the 2 climbers, including 3 times for KOs. Riddles didn't suffer from this problem, but it turns out that the ice climber's unique design can have the same kind of interaction with one of Terry's supers, Buster Wolf. The one time Riddles was directly KO'd for hitting the wrong climber was a direct result of going for what's usually a bread and butter combo Riddles relies on to start his biggest comebacks. But because Nana was in front when the pair of ice climbers got hit, she got grabbed, and Popo was ready for the easy F smash to clear the stock. A combo that's free damage in nearly every other matchup turned into Riddles' death against the ice climbers. Are the ice climbers about to start terrorizing Ultimate brackets in the same way they did to Melee and Brawl brackets back in the day? That's doubtful. Big D is a special player with an incredible amount of time in both Smash as a whole and Ultimate's ice climbers in specific. To make the most out of these situations where the ice climbers excel, your execution needs to be on point. People aren't just going to be able to pick them up on a whim and start mimicking what we saw at Get On My Level at their locals. And even those who are able to execute the advantage state won't have the pinpoint control of Nana that we saw from Big D at Get On My Level. And even if they have all that, the character still sometimes just dies, for no reason. But we can bet that Big D's run at Get On My Level has forced many top players to take note and start thinking about what they have to do to beat this character. Most characters have good answers to the situations Big D was presenting, but even the world's best are going to struggle to learn them on the fly. Whether it's Big D or the next Ice Climbers main who tries to follow in his footsteps, nobody wants to be the one caught off guard the next time the climbers make a huge run. Looking for more deep dives into recent major top performers? Check out our videos on Akola, Proto-Banham, Light, and Gluttony, with links in the description down below. And make sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything Super Smash Bros., including the upcoming PGRU V3. Thanks for watching. My name is Last. I do so hope you've enjoyed this video, and as always, I'll see you next time.